The evening had started normally. My wife had invited her entire family for dinner, and I wanted everything to be perfect. I stood in the kitchen, carefully stirring the curry while checking on the roast in the oven. The sound of laughter came from the living room where her parents, siblings, and cousins had already gathered. It was supposed to be a warm family night, a chance to bond and show them how well we worked as a couple. Just as I was setting the table, I realized we didn't have enough chairs for everyone. Calmly, I told my wife I'd grab a few extra from the garage. She nodded, barely looking up from chatting with her sister. I wiped my hands on a towel and headed toward the garage, thinking of nothing but keeping the dinner moving smoothly. As I pushed open the garage door, I froze. The lights were already on, and the scene in front of me made my stomach twist. My wife was there, locked in an intimate moment with another man. Their bodies pulled apart instantly when they heard the creak of the door, but it was too late. The truth hit me like a hammer. While I was inside cooking for her family, she was betraying me in our own home. I stood there, unable to move, my mind racing. My wife's face turned pale, and she stammered something about it not being what it looked like. But the guilt in her eyes told me everything. The man scrambled to adjust his clothes and muttered an apology before rushing out of the garage like a coward. My wife reached for me, but I stepped back. I didn't shout, though every bone in my body wanted to. I didn't cause a scene. Instead, I just stared at her, the weight of years of trust collapsing in an instant. She begged me to listen, but all I could hear was the sound of betrayal echoing in my mind. Dinner, the family gathering, all of it suddenly felt like a cruel joke. I turned back into the house, my wife trailing behind me in panic. Her family looked up as I entered with a forced smile. I calmly carried the chairs into the dining room and set them down. Inside, I was breaking, but outside, I played the part of the gracious host. My wife avoided my eyes, trying to act normal, but I knew she was drowning in guilt. As everyone ate, I barely touched my plate. Her family complimented the food, laughing and chatting, completely unaware of what I had just witnessed. My wife kept glancing at me, waiting for me to say something, but I didn't. Silence was my revenge for now. When dinner ended, I excused myself, saying I had some work to finish. My wife tried to stop me, but I whispered in her ear, "We'll talk after your family leaves." Her face drained of color, and she nodded, knowing the storm that was waiting. Upstairs, I sat alone in our room, replaying everything in my mind. The betrayal wasn't just physical, it was the timing, the disrespect. I was cooking for her family, trying to make her proud, while she slipped away to the garage to destroy everything we had built. Hours later, after her family finally left, she came upstairs with tears in her eyes. She begged me to forgive her, claimed it was a mistake, and swore it would never happen again. But her words felt empty, like ash. I told her calmly that I wasn't a fool. A mistake doesn't happen in the middle of a family gathering, just steps away from the kitchen where her husband is working hard. That was a choice, not an accident. Her sobs filled the room, but my heart was already turning cold. In the days that followed, I didn't expose her to her family immediately. Instead, I began to plan. Quietly, I gathered evidence, messages, and details she thought I'd never find. She thought my silence was a sign of weakness, but it was the preparation for justice. Finally, when her family gathered again weeks later, I laid everything out in front of them, proof of her betrayal. The same living room filled with laughter that night became filled with shocked silence. My wife collapsed in tears, and her family looked at her in disbelief. I didn't need to yell, I didn't need revenge in anger. The truth itself was the biggest punishment. I walked out of that house with my dignity intact, leaving her to face the shame of her choices. My pain was deep, but so was my resolve. Never again would I allow myself to be disrespected like that.